For millennia, ancient prophecies from the Bible have captured human imagination, speaking of global events, political shifts, and technological advancements that seemed impossible for their time. From the rise of a revived Roman Empire-like coalition in Europe to the rebirth of a fertile, inhabited Israel, these prophecies have long been subjects of intense speculation. Could these age-old predictions, written thousands of years ago, be unfolding in our modern world? We live in an era defined by global communication, with events in Jerusalem witnessed across the world, by a global economy where digital transactions are becoming the standard, and by a dramatic increase in travel and knowledge that has connected every corner of the planet. These are not just isolated developments. For those who study prophecy, they're interconnected pieces of a much larger puzzle. As we explore these 5 powerful biblical prophecies, we'll examine how ancient scripture seems to be echoing in our headlines today. Are these just coincidences, or are we witnessing the final chapters of a long foretold story? I urge you to look at the world around you and ask, is history repeating itself, or is prophecy being fulfilled? Number 1. Unification of Europe. Daniel 2 verses 41 to 44. Revelation 17 verses 12 to 13. A unified Europe, in the form of the European Union, is viewed by some as the fulfillment of an ancient biblical prophecy predicting the rise of a revived Roman Empire-like coalition in the last days. This perspective draws on interpretations of the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, which describe a final world power with characteristics that resonate with the modern European project. The book of Daniel describes a series of empires, culminating in a powerful fourth kingdom, widely identified as the Roman Empire. Daniel's vision of a statue with feet of iron and clay is particularly relevant. The iron symbolizes the strength and dominance of Rome, while the mixture of iron and clay in the feet represents a final kingdom that is both strong and fragile, unified yet divided. This duality is seen by some as a metaphor for the modern European Union, a powerful economic and political bloc composed of diverse nations with distinct identities. The book of Revelation also speaks of a beast with 10 horns, which many interpret as a coalition of 10 kingdoms or nations arising from the territory of the old Roman Empire. This imagery fuels the belief that a revived Roman Empire won't be a single, monolithic state, but rather a confederation of nations with shared roots and interests. The European Union's journey toward unification mirrors key aspects of this prophecy. The pursuit of a common currency, the euro, open borders, and a shared parliament demonstrates an ambition for unity reminiscent of a great empire. However, the EU's internal divisions, such as the varied responses to economic crises, nationalistic movements, and the departure of the United Kingdom, can be seen as the clay in the feet of the prophecy, a fundamental weakness that prevents a true and total union. This modern project is an empire built not on military conquest, but on consensus and bureaucracy, yet still wields significant global influence. Ultimately, this interpretation posits that the unification of Europe is not merely a political or economic project. It is, for some, the fulfillment of a prophecy where the echoes of ancient Rome reverberate in a modern world. Number 2, rebuilding of the land of Israel. Ezekiel 36 verses 8 to 11. A once barren land, the biblical prophecy of a restored Israel has resonated for millennia. This prophecy, found in scriptures such as Ezekiel 36, foretold that the land left desolate after the Jewish people were exiled, would one day become fertile and inhabited again. For many, the modern state of Israel and its agricultural and demographic successes are seen as the literal fulfillment of this ancient prediction. The book of Ezekiel paints a vivid picture of this restoration. God speaks to the mountains of Israel, promising to bring the people back and to make the land productive once more. Ezekiel 36 verses 8 to 10 states, "But you, O mountains of Israel, will produce your branches and yield your fruit for my people Israel, for they will soon come home. For behold, I am for you, and I will turn to you, and you will be tilled and sown. And I will multiply on you, men, all the house of Israel, all of it." This passage not only predicts the return of the Jewish people, but also the agricultural rebirth of the land itself. Historically, following the Roman conquest and the subsequent Jewish exile in the 1st and 2nd century CE, the land of Israel became largely neglected and desolate. Mark Twain, visiting the region in the 1860s, described it as a desolate country whose soil is rich enough, but is given over wholly to weeds. He noted its barrenness and lack of inhabitants. However, this began to change in the late 19th and early 20th centuries with the rise of the Zionist movement and the return of Jewish immigrants. These early settlers faced a significant challenge, reclaiming a land that had been neglected for nearly 2,000 years. They drained swamps, terraced hillsides, and developed innovative farming techniques to make the arid soil productive. Today, Israel is a global leader in agricultural technology, including drip irrigation and the development of drought-resistant crops. This transformation is a powerful testament to human ingenuity and, for many believers, a direct fulfillment of the prophecy. The prophecy's second key component, that the land would be inhabited again, has also seen a remarkable fulfillment. The population of the region's Jewish inhabitants was small in the 19th century. However, with waves of immigration, particularly after the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, the population has grown exponentially. The gathering of the exiles, a concept central to Jewish and Christian eschatology, is seen by many as the modern ingathering of Jews from around the world to their ancestral homeland. This demographic shift is not just a statistical fact, but is viewed as a miraculous and prophetic event. The modern state of Israel, with its bustling cities, thriving agriculture, and growing population, stands as a living testament to this ancient prophecy. While interpretations of biblical prophecy vary, the physical and demographic changes in the land of Israel over the last century provide a compelling case for those who see this prophecy as having been fulfilled. The transformation from a desolate, sparsely populated land to a fertile, thriving nation is one of the most striking stories of the modern era. Number 3, global communication. Revelation 11 verses 9 to 10. The prophecy of 2 witnesses or prophets being killed in Jerusalem, with their death witnessed by the entire world, is a powerful and specific prediction found in the book of Revelation. This prophecy, contained in chapter 11, describes a future event where 2 figures will preach and perform miracles for a period of 1,260 days. They will be given power to strike the earth with plagues and withhold rain. After their mission is complete, a beast from the abyss will overpower, kill, and leave their bodies unburied in the streets of Jerusalem. The text explicitly states that those who dwell on the earth will gloat over them, and that their death will be seen by every people, tribe, tongue, and nation. This raises a critical question. How could the entire world witness an event in Jerusalem before the age of global communication? For centuries, this prophecy was interpreted symbolically or seen as an event limited to the local populace. However, the advent of modern technology, particularly global communication systems, has transformed the way this passage is understood. The invention of the telegraph, radio, and television, and more recently, the internet and satellite technology has made it possible for a live event in one location to be broadcast instantaneously to a global audience. The prophecy no longer seems a logistical impossibility. This technological evolution is a key element in the modern interpretation. A camera in Jerusalem could broadcast a live feed of the prophet's bodies to televisions and smartphones across the globe. News channels could interrupt their regular programming to show the event, and social media could explode with live-streamed videos and commentary. The biblical phrase, every people, tribe, tongue, and nation, now has a literal and practical fulfillment that was unimaginable just a few generations ago. The ability to witness the event globally is not just about the technology. It is central to the prophecy's significance. The text says that the people of the world will celebrate the death of the prophets, suggesting a collective hostility toward their message. This global celebration, enabled by the instantaneous spread of information, underscores the unified rejection of God's witnesses. The prophecy concludes with the prophet's resurrection and ascent to heaven, also witnessed by their enemies. This dramatic inclusion, a public vindication in the face of global scorn, would be even more impactful on a global stage. The prophecy of the two witnesses' death and resurrection serves as a powerful example of how ancient texts, once considered to be symbolic or hyperbole, gain a new and literal dimension in the context of modern technological advancements. The prophecy of a global audience for an event in Jerusalem is no longer a theological mystery, but a chilling possibility enabled by the very tools we use for communication every day. Number 4, rise of a global economy. Revelation 13 verses 16 to 17. The rise of a global economy, as described in Revelation 13 verses 16 to 17, is a topic that has captivated theologians and scholars for centuries. This biblical passage speaks of a future system where no one can buy or sell without a mark or the name of the beast, suggesting a level of economic control and integration previously unimaginable. Today, with the advent of digital currency, global financial networks, and the push toward a cashless society, many see the groundwork for this prophetic economy being laid. Revelation 13 verses 16 to 17 states, "He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name." This passage describes a centralized economic system that requires a form of identification for participation. The prophecy's core idea is not just about a mark, but about universal economic control, a system that dictates who can engage in commerce and who cannot. For much of history, this prophecy was interpreted symbolically. The idea of a single, global authority controlling all commerce seemed far-fetched. However, modern technology and the interconnectedness of our financial systems have made this concept a tangible possibility. The world has moved from a barter system to physical currency and is now rapidly transitioning to digital forms of payment. The rise of credit cards, mobile payments, and online banking has made physical money less essential. Cryptocurrencies and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, are the next logical step, promising a more efficient and trackable financial system. This shift creates a digital trail for every transaction, a necessary prerequisite for the kind of control described in Revelation. In a global digital economy, a person's entire financial life, from their bank accounts and credit history to their ability to buy groceries, could be tied to a single, verifiable digital identity. This creates a system where the government or an international authority could, in theory, restrict access to the economy for those who do not comply with its standards. This level of oversight makes the biblical prophecy of a system where buying and selling is restricted a practical reality. The prophecy suggests a global, unified system. The world's economies are already deeply intertwined through international trade agreements, global supply chains, and multinational corporations. Organizations like the World Trade Organization, WTO, and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, are examples of institutions that work to standardize and regulate global economic activity. The push for a single global currency or a universally accepted digital standard could be seen as the final step in this process. The biblical prophecy of a global economy requiring a mark may not be a literal tattoo or brand. Instead, it could be a digital identifier or biometric data tied to one's financial identity, required for participation in a cashless, globally integrated system. The rise of a global economy, driven by technology and a desire for efficiency and security, is a modern development that, for many, provides the context for a biblical prophecy that was once a mystery. Number 5, global increase in travel and knowledge, Daniel 12, verse 4. The biblical prophecy in Daniel 12, verse 4 is a short but powerful statement about the end times. But as for you, Daniel, conceal these words and seal up the book until the end of time. Many will go back and forth, and knowledge will increase. This verse contains two distinct, yet interconnected predictions: a dramatic increase in travel, many will go back and forth, and a profound expansion of knowledge. For centuries, these words were difficult to understand in a literal sense. Human travel was slow and arduous, and knowledge, while it grew, did so at a relatively steady pace. The last 2 centuries, however, have seen an exponential acceleration in both areas, leading many to believe we are living in the time this prophecy describes. The first part of the prophecy, many will go back and forth, speaks to a level of mobility that was historically unprecedented. For most of human history, travel was limited by the speed of animal or sail power. A journey from Europe to America took weeks or months. Today, that same journey can be completed in a matter of hours. The invention of the steam engine, the automobile, and, most significantly, the airplane has made global travel commonplace. Tourism, business trips, and international migration are now part of everyday life for millions. The sheer volume of people moving across the globe, across oceans and continents, is a fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy that would have been unimaginable to his original audience. This interconnectedness has created a truly global society where physical distance is no longer a major barrier. The second part of the prophecy, knowledge will increase, is perhaps the most striking fulfillment. For thousands of years, the accumulation and spread of knowledge was slow, relying on oral tradition and the laborious process of hand-copying manuscripts. The invention of the printing press was a significant leap, but it pales in comparison to the information age. The internet, with its vast databases and instantaneous communication, has made all of human knowledge accessible to anyone with a connection. We carry devices in our pockets that can access more information than existed in the Library of Alexandria. Scientific discovery is also accelerating at an incredible pace, with new breakthroughs in medicine, physics, and technology happening almost daily. The rate at which we discover and share information is not just increasing, it is exploding. This rapid growth of knowledge, from scientific discoveries to the easy access to historical texts, is a hallmark of our modern era. The twin phenomena of mass travel and the information explosion, spoken of by the prophet Daniel thousands of years ago, are now a defining feature of the world we live in. It is a powerful example of how ancient prophecy can take on new and profound meaning in a technologically advanced age. The world we live in is undeniably complex and interconnected. The unification of Europe, the flourishing of Israel, the instantaneous global communication, the push towards a digital economy, and the explosion of travel and knowledge all represent monumental shifts in the human story. Whether you view these developments through a historical, political, or spiritual lens, it's clear that our world is changing at an unprecedented pace. The prophecies of a revived Roman Empire, a fertile Israel, global observation of events in Jerusalem, a mark-based economy, and a surge in travel and knowledge were once confined to the pages of ancient books. Today, they appear to be woven into the fabric of our daily lives. These are not merely abstract concepts. They are tangible realities that invite us to look deeper. The question is no longer whether these events are possible, but what they mean for our future. It's up to each of us to consider these signs and decide for ourselves. I challenge you to keep your eyes open, to think critically about the direction our world is heading, and to continue to seek answers.